Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Today is Monday, September 20th, 2021. It took me a second to realize it was September. For some reason, my mind wanted to say October, but we're not quite there yet. We're still in September. It is turning into a sunny day now. It was hot and muggy early this morning. It was raining. Actually, rained pretty hard when I was dropping off the kids this morning, but now it's starting to look really nice out there. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Everyone listening in on the podcast on the audio only version, hopefully you're having a good run or a good commute home. Stay safe out there on the roads. And everyone watching this on YouTube after the fact, hopefully you are sitting back with a nice recovery beverage today. Today, even though it's a Monday mukbang day, I've been focusing more on like electrolyte drinks because that's kind of like where my mind's at right now. I'm pretty happy with some of like my protein bars and shakes and all that stuff because we've gone through so many lately. So today what I wanted to try is another electrolyte drink. And this is one that got sent to me, but not because like, sometimes people send me stuff, but this one got sent to me just because I bought other stuff. So I bought a bunch of Huma Chia Plus gels. I think I bought like Huma Chia Plus is weird. You can't buy like a box. There's no such thing as a box. You tell them how many you want. So I was like, I'll take 20. I don't know how many, I don't know if I bought 10 or 20 or what. And then they gave me 2 of these. They just threw them in the box. So I didn't even know that Huma made these. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on it. Huma Hydration. One is lemon lime and one is coconut pineapple. And it is 10 calories, 380 milligrams of salt, 2 grams of carbs, some magnesium, some potassium, not a ton, but basically a good way to rehydrate and get some of those salts back in after you've sweat them out for your long run today. So we'll try some of those. But first, before we do that, let's get to seeing who's here in the chat. We've got, hold on, let me check this out 1 second. I have to adjust, there we go. My screen was set to a lower brightness, so I had to fix that. Mark was here first today, said happy Monday. All days getting shorter, and I keep getting older. So true, that's funny. And Frank wants to know, does Bekele actually have a shot at the world record next weekend, or is that pretty much over? I haven't been keeping track of what's going on over there. So, I don't know. I just feel like with him, it's hard to tell. Because I feel like, he doesn't seem to train like a normal person. I mean, he's not a normal person. He's one of the best marathon runners ever. So, like, it's hard to say what's normal, but, like, I don't know. The times when he seems to do really well is when people are like, well, I don't know, his training hasn't been that consistent. And then he'll go out and just, like, rock the second fastest marathon time ever. You know what I mean? So who knows with that guy? Then Frank also wants to know, how long in advance of an A race should you buy your racing shoe? Is there any advantage in buying it later? I would say get it when your marathon training plan, or if it's a 10K, your 10K training plan or whatever it is, usually there'll be some mini periodization within that training block. Once it like kind of cranks up, that's when I would really start thinking about getting that shoe you want to race in, if you can. Because that way you get to put in some of your hardest workouts in there. And you'll be able to know if that's for sure the shoe that you want to be able to race in. But you also know it's like comfortable and performs the way you want it to. But also you have that kind of like, I don't know, for me, there's like kind of like a assurance that like, you know what, I've been able to do this in this shoe before. I can handle it today. So that's kind of where I like it. The reason why some people buy it later is just so that the shoe is a bit fresher. I mean, I think, it seemed like when the super shoes first came out, people were like, I don't know, you got to baby these things. They're only going to last like a race or two, and now people are like, it's a race shoe, so it doesn't last as long as a daily trainer. But like, it seems, I don't know if like the materials have gotten better. That may be why sometimes some people, including myself, think that some of the ZoomX foam aren't quite as soft and squishy as they used to be. That could be part of it. But also, I think that we're relying on different materials now, not just a ZoomX type of P-backs, but we're also using things like the nitro foams, where they're using the supercritical process to inject gases and stuff in there. So, I mean, I think there's just different production methods. So I think the main thing was that people used to be really concerned about longevity. Philip Bourne is back. He says, yo, what's going on? Long time no see. It's good to see you. Good to see the dog. Good to see Laura still there. Awesome. Danny says, morning, everyone. No joke about these days getting shorter. My 5 a.m. run is all darkness now. Yeah, It is very dark in the morning. It doesn't get light around here until like after 6:30, which is kind of when I need to be back if I were to go run in the morning. So lately what I've been doing is I've been doing my video editing before when everyone's still sleeping and then going for the run after I drop the kids off. All right. Oh, wait, let's do one more. Brendan says, what's going on? Brendan says, good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. Working from home today, so able to make the live stream. All right. Very, very cool. Okay. Let's try some of these drink mixes. So I got 2 like little jugs of water, and we'll try them both. I'll mix them up both kind of at the same time, so that way I can try them both kind of at the same time too. First one, I'll put coconut, pineapple in the first one. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's going to taste like a pina colada, right? And for me, I'm like, I don't really know. I don't really like pina coladas, but I love pineapples. And I sometimes like coconut things. And the lemon lime is like, oh, that's probably a safe one, but it also seems like kind of boring. So we'll see how that one goes. The pineapple coconut, that one, like immediately, as soon as I opened it, like I smelled it very strongly. The lemon lime, I don't know if it's because the pineapple coconut was already open. I didn't really smell it hardly at all. But it got a little bit clumpy. I did have very cold water here, so that could be part of it. But I'll stir these up, and I'll let them sit for a second. Ooh, coconut pineapple. I got a little taste of it. Pretty good. And let the lemon lime go. All right, and we'll let that sit for a second. All right, Terry Furlong's here, says good evening, and JC says hello Monday live streamers. Awesome. Hello Monday live streamers, he said. All right. Okay, Drew Reed says, happy Monday, everyone. Just completed my first competitive half marathon yesterday with a time of 1:29:19. Awesome, great job. He said, and he's in Copenhagen. He said, feeling the soreness today and sad not to get out there, miss the training. Yeah, you know, I know that feeling too. It's kind of like that post-race blues that people get sometimes where you're like, I've been training every day. And now that I finished my race, now what? Kind of thing. I took a rest day today, and normally I had been planning to like either bike or swim. Today I was going to hop on the bike to do some stuff. I got some projects that I'm working on, and I needed to go to a couple different locations in the city. And I was going to ride my bike to those locations so I could get some footage. But because it rained and I'm not so good on the bike, I was really worried that I was going to have all my cameras with me and then fall. So I ended up driving everywhere. But it made me have to like walk around a lot. So I feel like I got around moving. But I didn't get in quite the workout that I wanted to. But yesterday's workout for me was a 20-miler. So I feel like it's okay. I think it's all right. And Drew, congratulations on your finish. Squeezing in under that 1:30, which is nice. But yeah, just don't worry about it. You'll get back out there soon. Leona says, great job on the Carrot 20. Thanks. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. Running 20 milers definitely is something you should do with other people. Because it like just the 4 miles I did by myself, that was like, oh, I didn't like it as much. The other 16 I thought were great. The last 4 were not as great. Steve says, yo, what's going on? He also has a half course PB yesterday. Awesome. We'll take that. Good job, Steve. We got I Run on Beers here. It says, cheers, y'all. Happy Monday. All right, with that, you know what? Let's try this first one. I'm going to try the pineapple coconut. It smells very much like a pina colada. But it's got a lot of good pineapple flavor. So I like it more than like, it doesn't taste like a pina colada melted or like a virgin pina colada melted, you know, if you had a frozen one. They're all frozen, right? Aren't they? But it's good. I like that one. I could drink a lot of that. That's really good. Tasty, tasty. Stevie76 is here, says, yo, what's going on? And Matthew Montillo says, hello, fellow randoms. Planning on getting owned by the Chicago Marathon. What's wrong, Matthew? You're not feeling ready? It's okay. I feel like this is going to be a year where a lot of people are out there having maybe not the best running times, but they're going to have the best times. That's kind of like the sense that I get. I think that's going to be the energy for the day is, you know what, this may not have been like the perfect buildup, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, we're just happy to be here, to be in a race of this magnitude and to be able to have it, which seems like all systems are go. I did talk to, on my run on Saturday, the day before the Cara run, I stopped like a couple of times because I kept running into people that I knew I hadn't seen in a long time. So I actually stopped during my run. And it was just an easy run anyway. But I stopped with a couple people and talked to them. Saw Coach Robin out there, talked to her for a little bit. She was out there supporting the Edge Athlete runners. And it was just super cool. Super cool to see everybody. I ran into Kevin, who's a photographer. He used to be a media guy for Tin Man Elite out in Boulder, Colorado. But he's from the area, and now he's back in Chicago. He's been working with Heartbreak Run Company. And so he was on the bike, and he's like, yo, we're doing the 20 mile today. You got to stop by the store later. So I was like, all right, okay. So I stopped by the store later, and I talked to Luke. I talked to Kevin. So it was good. It was good. But, you know, all the 20 milers were this weekend. So like CES, Chicago Endurance Sports, had their 20 miler. And then Heartbreak Run Company, they put on a 20 miler. Cara had a 20 miler. I thought I saw, there was one out in the suburbs that I saw lots of people doing as well. So like there was a lot of 20 milers out this weekend. And it seemed like, you know, for all the photos that I saw, it seemed like everyone was out there with just giant smiles. So like, I think that's going to be the overall theme. I'm hoping and I'm predicting that's going to be the overall kind of energy from the Chicago Marathon this year is just, you know, big smiles and enjoying the time, even if the time is not so great. Tryboy Try says, what's a good time / distance to break in a pair of running shoes? I mean, for me, I'd say like if you're going to race in a pair of shoes, doing like 3 miles in them, maybe 5 to 10, just to get a sense of like, is this going to chafe or rub or cause any kind of problems? Would be the only thing. But like, you know, pair of running shoes for racing really shouldn't need any break-in at all. For daily trainers, you know, some shoes certainly do change over time. Like a lot of the Hoka shoes, they tend to like squish down a little bit more because of the compressed and molded EVA that they use. But I also feel like it's 2021. It's not like we're dealing with something that's like mostly rubber. Even React, even though React has a lot of rubber in it, I think. But like even that, and it's not like, you know, these aren't baseball mitts. So we don't need to like rub them in some sort of mineral oil, put a tennis ball in it and wrap it overnight and stick it underneath the mattress like you do with a baseball mitt. It's 2021, but the materials are all very modern. And I don't really think that many shoes should require break-in. If it does, whenever people are like, yeah, you got to give it like 50 to 100 miles before it really feels good. And I'm like, that means it's a bad shoe. They did something wrong where like, it just doesn't make any sense. So, and I know that some people are like, well, I like to get 1,000 kilometers out of my shoes. And I'm like, great. That's great. That's not, I don't think that was ever normal. I know some people do that regularly, but I don't know how they do that. And I don't think that's normal. I could be wrong on that though, but I don't know. All right, Ray Solar's a happy jogger had 4 miles at his fastest training pace at 9:30. Nice work, Ray. And Pete G says, hi, Kofuzi, happy Monday. All right, guys. Run Tommy says, Run Tommy. There's an exclamation point at the end, so I said it that way. Run Tommy says, thoughts on plate stiffness? I found the carbon fiber plate and the Endorphin Pro a little too stiff. Which super shoe plates do you like best? Yeah, I mean, I think that the stiffer it is, I mean, it's kind of a oversimplification to say it's just the carbon, because I think part of it is the way that the carbon and the foam are working together that really is giving that like impression. And so I will agree with you in that the Endorphin Pro feels like I can't really fully get everything out of it unless I'm going like half marathon pace or faster. So like that's where like I'm like, this is a great carbon plate, but I need to be able to access it at slower speeds. And the Endorphin Speed I really like too, but like that I feel like once I get past half marathon pace, then I feel like, you know, the nylon plate or whatever's in there is not keeping up. And so I feel like I'm, you know, overloading the shoe. So like I need something like in the middle between the speed and the pro. I think maybe just a regular endorphin with no second word to it. I'm not sure. Or maybe that's what the Endorphin Pro Plus is. I'm not sure. Although I think the midsole and carbon is the same in the Endorphin Pro Plus. My Super Shoe plates, which plates do I like the most? It's hard to really dissect it a lot from the foams that they come with, but my two favorites right now are the Metaspeed Sky and the Adios Pro. All right, guys, with that, I'm going to try this lemon lime. This is good. This is actually a really good mix of lemon and lime. A lot of times when you have lemon lime, it's one or the other, really strong. A lot of times it either tastes like limeade or lemonade, but this is like straight down the middle in a way that is like sometimes I don't know. I can't tell if I really like it or if it tastes like soap. But it is a good balance of lemon and lime. But I'll say it's not probably not my favorite hydration drink, but it's good. I don't know that I would buy a bunch of it, but if I were thirsty, I certainly wouldn't turn it down. All right, Martha says, I bought my race pair of Endorphin Speeds a couple of weeks ago, and I'll put a few miles in them in the upcoming weeks. See, I think that's good too, just because even if it's a shoe that you're familiar with and you just want to make sure that there's not like a stitch or a seam or something going on in that particular shoe, so it's good definitely to put a couple of miles into it. Aditya Roy says, just checking in. It's 11:30 at night for him. Good night, Cofam. Good night, Aditya. Thanks for checking in. All right. JC says, I'm going to break out the Vaporfly X% 2 for a 5-mile race on Saturday. A test for a half marathon shoe selection. I think that's a good test. Like the 8K is nice, I think, for a half marathon test. Definitely. Steve says, for his half marathon that he ran, he almost DNF'd due to calves cramping really bad at mile 11. Had to run on the heels for a bit. Is that most likely due to a lack of salt or dehydration? For me, I had a similar thing happen to my calves on my run yesterday. I have a feeling that it's more just not being well hydrated. And so I don't know that it's necessarily salt, because I feel like when it happened to me, I wasn't running long enough for it to have been like, this is salt. I've just been sweating too much, and my body is now like feeling like it needs more salts. I think that it was just dehydration, and I don't think it was even dehydration on the day. I just, how people say like, make sure you're drinking a lot. My college coach used to say, like before you go to bed, make sure like you're drinking enough liquid that your pee runs clear before you go to bed. I think that's probably overkill for most people, and I don't think I hope coaches aren't saying that anymore, because I don't think you need to quite get to that point. But I think the overall advice was just like, you have to drink more fluids than you think in order to be feeling really fresh. And I definitely hadn't done that the night before, I don't think. Normally what I like to do is like make sure I'm drinking like these electrolyte drinks throughout the day, or just making sure I'm getting a lot of water. And then, then I always try to have like a protein shake or a recovery drink like right before bed, even if there is a little bit of sugar and it might be a stimulant a bit. Just feel like usually, if I could just hurry up and get to sleep, then I'll have all that stuff in my system for my body to do with it what it needs to do while I'm sleeping. So that's kind of what I like to do. All right. PJ says, had my first half marathon. Oh, a lot of PBs over the weekend. A lot of racing going on. So I had my first half marathon yesterday, 1:51:22. Awesome. And he says he finished faster than he expected, but just a little disappointed I didn't manage the sub 150. Well, that is the classic runner response. So you did the best you've ever done, but you're like, you know what though? I could have done better. So love to see it, PJ. Great work on the first half marathon. That is a time to be proud of for sure. And you know what? There's room for improvement. I think you can get to that 150 or 149.59. So I'll start looking at the calendar, figure out when you're going to run that next half marathon. Radislav Kolev says, Kofos, you the best. Oh, thank you. He said, which ones are, according to your opinion, the best marathon shoes for 2021 so far? I'd say I really like the Adios Pro 2. I like the Metaspeed Sky. I did 20 miles in the RC Elite 2. Excellent shoe. And then there's, of course, like the Alpha Fly and the Next Percent. Those are also excellent shoes as well. So, like, those are probably the best ones, in my opinion, for the marathon distance for most people, right? So there might be some people where, you know, other shoes may excel for them, but, you know, I feel like the other ones that are out there, I'm sure there's ones that I'm neglecting that are still really good, but don't really jump out to me as much as shoes that I'd want to have for a marathon. Leonard Lim 10 says, congrats on the 20 miler. Thanks. I felt really good. I mean, I've done 20 milers before. I used to do them multiple times during a training block, but this time I only got a chance to do one this year. And, you know, like I felt like I showed a lot of restraint. But then that enabled me to have a really fun last 4 miles. And so, like, you know, I feel like, you know, it took me a long time to learn some lessons, but I'm starting to learn lessons about pacing and discipline and figuring out how to run longer distance. So I feel really good about it, not necessarily because of the time, but because of the execution. So I feel good about that. Brendan says his GoPro should be there tomorrow. He's so intrigued to see how different the quality will be between the 7 and the 10. Between the 7 and the 10, I think you're going to notice a couple of really big things, Brandon. I think that you're going to see an improvement in stability. That's going to blow you away, I think, in terms of the footage that you're getting. And I also think that you're going to love the audio. The audio just keeps getting better on the GoPros. And, you know, I think it's the most underrated feature. Maybe not the most underrated feature, but I think it's the feature that's the hardest for competitors to copy. Like other competitors have made, like, you know, 1080 at 240 frames per second video. The image quality might not be as good. The stabilization might not be as good, but it's there-ish, you know, but like the audio was where I feel like that's where like people have a real hard time keeping up. So I think those are the big ones that you're gonna see. Plus, I believe that going from the 7 to the 10, like the 7 was like lots of different like frame rates and resolutions were available, but not all the camera angles were available. I can't remember if it's the 7 or the 8, where it used to be like, you know, you had to set up like the lenses differently. It wasn't lenses, but like lenses was the way that they used it. And it was harder to figure it out. And then at one point, then it switched over where there was just like a slider that you could use to make it to super view or wide or narrow or linear, all that stuff. I feel like in the last couple of editions, they've really made sure that you could shoot with the kind of perspective, wide or tighter, at all the different frame rates and resolutions. So I think you're going to really like it. All right. Leonard M said, did you make any new friends? I made some friends, for sure. I met Andy, a really nice guy. I talked to him. I ran right next to him for like the first 10 miles. And we were like warming up together, standing in like kind of the corral. There weren't really corrals, but standing in like the pace group beforehand. And he's nice. He is a recovering attorney as well. So it was a lot of fun. And then I just was able to talk to a lot of people both before and after the race. So it was good to have kind of like the local support, you know, to see that like people that run the same places that I do, like appreciate what I'm doing, you know. So that's always good to let you know that like you're not doing your city a disservice. You know what I mean? So, yeah. All right. Tryboy Try says, I just finished a 25K 1,900 foot elevation trail race in Fort Davis, Texas. Probably the toughest race in Texas. Finished dead last for males, but I definitely feel accomplished to complete it. Well, that definitely deserves a cowbell for the perseverance. And that is no joke. So it's like, yeah. So you had like basically like 1,000 feet for every like 6 miles. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Congratulations. Fort Davis, Texas. I don't know where that is. Bert wants to talk about the pronunciation of Adidas. You know what I think is so funny about that? The biggest irony about all the people that want to talk about Adidas is, you know, and like Yeah. I mean, you guys could do what you really want. Everyone can do what they want to do. I mean, there's one thing between having like multiple accepted pronunciations and then saying things just wrong, right? So like, I mean, like some people don't know how to pronounce Saucony, right? That's one thing. And like Nike has one way of it being said, and then like I've said to people like, you know, people. It seems like people in Great Britain, like in England, and like people in the mid, like my wife says it, Nike versus Nike. I don't know why. I've only met people in the United States in the Midwest that say it that way, and they're usually my age or older. So those are interesting things, but like, but the thing about Adidas is that it's a German company, right? And people are like, it's German. There's one way to say it for Adidas or Adidas, and I'm like, do you listen? Do you hear yourself? It's German. Like in Germany, they don't call it Germany. They call it Deutschland. In France, it's Allemand. In Spain, it's Alemania. Germany has like 4 different ways of saying Germany. And we're like we're getting caught up over Adidas. I just think it's really, really funny. And especially for Americans too. We say Mexico, we say Germany. Like there's so many things that we say different here because we're terrible at talking. But that's just how we do it. And that's like the, you know, like, what was I listening to? I was listening to Believe in the Run, the Drop podcast. And they were asking Thomas if he says croissant or if he says it like, tries to say it French. He says, I'm in the United States. I'm going to say crescent roll or I'm going to say croissant. I'm not going to say it like croissant, you know? So that's just the way we do things here. I think you guys all know that. You guys know I'm kidding. But yeah. But I mean, people get really fired up. That's the thing that's been surprising to me. That people have also been getting like fired up about it. I'm like, 1986, Run DMC chartered a helicopter that has Run DMC and Adidas that had a paint job, a helicopter, an entire helicopter, and they made a song called My Adidas. I feel like if there was ever a point where they should have been like, can you guys maybe change the song to My Adidas? Like 86 would have been the time. But, you know, I don't know. Adidas pro athletes, like if you look at like athlete Adidas sponsorship interview, like all the Americans, they pronounce it Adidas. People who are getting checks from the company are saying Adidas. I don't know any product people from Adidas. Like I don't know any product people that work for like Adidas of America or whatever business entity it'd be called. I don't know how they pronounce it, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just how we do it. Now I'm getting all fired up about it, and I didn't want to get fired up about it again. Sorry, guys. All right. Terrence says, hey all. For your information, San Francisco Marathon did have mask zones because of the federal rules in parts, and very few people abided by it. He did, and then gave it up. Oh, man. San Francisco, though. I've been seeing stuff about the mayor going to Tony concert somewhere, and she didn't have her mask on, even though she implemented an indoor mask mandate, which I think is just unfortunate. Like, I don't know what it is about these California politicians, like, shooting themselves in the foot like that. But the other thing, like, piggybacking off of Adidas, is that, like, Tony reminds me of Hoka One One. And so, like, every time the news would say, like, you know, San Francisco mayor went to a Tony reunion concert, I want to say, I believe it's Tone or Tun, pronounced differently than that, making a weird Hoka One One joke. But that, yeah, it's just, I can't plan, you guys in the chat, I can't plan these comments better than the way you guys bring them up. All right. And Leona says, we do need a cowbell for Terrence, the San Francisco Marathon finisher. Yes. Good job, Terrence. And I applaud you for at least trying to follow the rules that they had set out, as strange as those rules may be. Because I just feel like, you know, if that's going to be the rule, then just you got to cancel the event then, if that's a rule that you're really going to enforce. It just seems weird to me. It's kind of like do you guys remember last year in Oregon in high schools, there were like, if you want to participate even in outdoor sports, you had to wear a mask, which I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't think that's necessarily wrong based on what we knew back then and what the guidance was back then. But then they were like, so then how do we have cross country? And I was just like, well, then you don't have cross country. That's the answer. And people were like, but we got to have cross country. We got to let them run without the masks on, and like overall, it turned out that I think our understanding of the way things work now is that being outside, you don't really need to have a mask on when you're running. But based on what we knew and understood at the time, I feel like it was a weird, they accidentally got to the right point, but their logic was very strange. All right. All right, I'm gonna scroll down to the bottom because I'm way behind you guys. Steven 76, he says pronounce Porsche. I say Porsche. Do people say Porsche? Porsche sounds weird. The only time I would say Porsche if it was a person's name. Yeah. Tracy Smith says, I was supporting you from mid-pack yesterday. Awesome, Tracy. I was looking out for you. And remember you saying that you were going to be running. So how did you do? How did you do yesterday? Stevie76 is recovering attorney. He's just reminded me to do my CLEs. Well, unfortunately, I'm not doing CLE programming anymore. So, that could have been one way to help you get some CLEs. But I'm not doing it. All right. Yeah, no, Metro, about other things that pronounce weird. It's like Hyundai and Peugeot have some dramatically different localized pronunciations. Yeah, I remember when Hyundai's first came out, like people were like, I don't know how to say these words or these letters together. And it's like, there's some really weird stuff happening. And I was like, well, like the way that the Korean words are spelled, it's definite if it's different than the way Americans say it too. But, I don't know. Stevie76 says, when Kobuzi gets fired up, he should check his heart rate. I don't know. Can I get my heart rate? I don't know if I can get my instantaneous heart rate. I think I can. But it's been a while since I was fired up. Where'd it go? 66 right now. Current heart rate. It's a little bit high. New Betcher says Nikon, which is Nikon in the US, is Nikon in Japan. Oh. Yeah. There we go. We say all sorts of stuff wrong. But I just feel like, it's not that different from, the whole idea that there should be one and only one way to pronounce a word, it just defies logic and everything we intuitively understand about language. Like saying lift versus elevator, torch versus flashlight, hoagie versus sub, and just think about how many different accents there are in England in a very small area, or there are across Northeast, Southwest. The Boston accent is probably one of my favorite, most amusing accents to listen to, other than really far northern Midwestern, like Fargo, those kinds of accents. I love listening to them. We all say things differently. We all pronounce things differently. It's just part of language. So when people get super caught up on, how to pronounce things, I just think it's funny. Tracy says, where'd it go? She says, haha, I did okay. I was between pace groups, so I felt like I ran the whole thing on my own, so a bit of a sufferfest. Yeah, see, that was the thing that I really didn't want to have happen to me. So I was like, well, I don't want to go out too fast and, just blow up later on in the day, because that's going to be also not great. So that's why I decided to go with the slower one, because I was like, I'd rather go a little bit slower and have a group to run with for at least the vast majority of the run than get stuck in between pace groups, because I just feel like, it's a lonely day to do that. Pace Pusher says, the Yasso video shows your fitness is there from all that triathlon work. I think so. So I'm feeling good about it. I'm worried about that just long endurance, what's going to happen when I'm nearing that 3-hour mark, in a race, or typically where I tend to blow up is around 2 hours and 40 minutes. So that's another, if I can make it to 2 hours and 40 minutes and not feel like, I've like disintegrated, then I feel like I've probably done it right. So like, well, that's where my big question mark is. But I mean, even if I had a normal regular marathon buildup, I'd still have that question mark there. Yeah, I guess you never really know, right? Tracy says, by the way, my husband said 6 months working with Adidas or Adidas in Germany. They were completely unconcerned with how we pronounced anything. They're probably just like, Americans, they just let them go. Let them go. We're just happy that they're using words and not yelling at us. That's probably how it goes. Oh, yeah, that's fun. That's funny. They're like, we don't care. I'll tell you what's weird, though. Bouncing back between these two different flavors of this Huma electrolyte drink. Like, the flavors is just like a big, sharp left and right turn. Like, whew. My mouth is very confused. Fabian Starts Running says, hey, everyone got their winter shoes ready yet? Getting colder already here in Europe. I'm not ready for winter. It's still so hot here in Chicago. I have a feeling, I guess we are like less than 3 weeks out from Chicago now. So it's time to start obsessing over what the weather's going to be like on race day, even though it's like impossible to predict this far out. But I have a feeling it's going to be hot. It's been hot here in Chicago. All summer, we've had just sustained above normal temperatures, and I just feel like it's still really hot now. And it's cooling off quite a bit, but I just think that we're going to get, if I were to bet warm Chicago versus a cold Chicago this year, I'd bet on warm. I'd be very happy to be wrong on that one, but I'm betting warm. Leonard said, what breakfast did you get post Kara? I didn't get the breakfast. I had a beer, and then I had they gave out a bottle of water, a protein shake, and then I got a t-shirt and a beer, like right in a row. And so, and then I took I was like hanging out, and I was like, I guess I'll go home. So I got on the first bus and I got home. I was kind of lame. I don't know. I have a lot of stuff that I got to try to work on video wise because I'm working with a brand and they want to review stuff beforehand. It's not a product that I'm reviewing, so I'm okay with that. But draft due date is today, so I got a lot of work I got to do. And I'm probably going to miss that deadline. But I didn't stick around. I should have. Terry Furlong's hoping for rain for the marathon. I like rain on the marathon. As long as it's not pouring like that one Boston Marathon year. My favorite year running the Chicago Marathon, I think, was 2018. That year it rained. It rained like moderately hard for like the first like 8 miles or so. It was great. Pace Pusher says, if I have a hard time with the 2 hour and 40 minute mark, start filming more at 2 hours and 40 minutes. You'll forget you're running. I've tried that. It doesn't work. It's fleet. The bump is fleeting. New Petro was trying to figure out when Hoka officially dropped the 1-1 or the one, but I wonder if pronunciation confusion was part of the motivation. I think that was the primary motivation, is that like people couldn't figure it out and it made it confusing to new consumers, people that were new to the brand. And I know it's like Hoka one, that's a lot of syllables. And it gave it like, to me, it always gave it like a very like Hawaiian triathlon kind of vibe to it. And then you look at the shoes and they're like big, giant, like super cushioned shoes. So I was like, I don't know what this is all about, So to me, I mean, I'm glad that they got rid of it. I feel like I'm surprised they didn't get rid of it sooner. But I think like the pronunciation confusion was a big part. Leona wants to know my favorite electrolyte drink for a marathon. Probably say Gatorade Endurance because it's a little saltier and it's just like a flavor that I'm used to having. It tends to be everywhere, so it's like good. My least favorite is probably Powerade. Remember when Powerade used to do a lot of races? Do they still do a lot of races? They used to do a lot, and I didn't like that as much. Brendan says, semi-related to pronunciation. I work for a defense company, and the majority of my time is spent on a military base, so folks are constantly poking fun at me for saying wrong acronyms. There are so many. I can imagine. Like, there's lots of, like, kind of like jokes about how like military speak is always just acronym laden and you just have no idea what's going on. I bet. CJ Cruz says, yo, what's going on? Just checking in on the live stream. Still going strong with the podcast. Yeah, we are. Frankly, I really thought that like by now the world would have healed and there would be less podcasting. But, the prime motivation was to make sure that everyone's still feeling connected to other people, even if it's hard to get out. And I still feel like there's some sort of a need for that, even though I don't think there's a lot of places that are still under like lockdown. The U.S. has no appetite for it at all, I'll tell you that. But, at this point, it's gotten legs of its own. And so I think there's always going to be something. But yeah, we're still here. We're still here doing it. Eric says, I had my Navy PT test yesterday. Awesome. Ran the 1.5 mile in 9:59. Fastest time ever as a 43-year-old. Super pumped. Awesome work. That's great. Great job, Eric. Man, showing up some of those young guns, I hope. Nice. Also, hey, my mom's here. Hi, Mom. How are you? Chris Deck says, hey, going, folks. Here for the outro while I make Monday brunch. Very cool. I'll say of the two flavors, I would prefer the pineapple coconut, even though I would normally not pick pineapple coconut. It's just more interesting of a flavor than a lemon lime. Erica Davis says, Chicago will be my first marathon, and I've only made it 20 miles a few times in my training. I'm trying to envision racing the last 10K that I've never touched before. Today's tapering thoughts. I think you've done great. If you've done 20 miles multiple times, you're in fine shape. You're definitely in fine shape. It's weird. It's like a leap of faith because, like, in my mind, people are like, if you've run 20, you can do the last 6 and you'll be fine. And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like died doing 20. I can't imagine tacking on another 6. That's like almost 33% more, right? But it works. It works out. Your pacing is going to be a little bit different. Your energy is going to be different. Your taper is going to be different. And, the marathon is the time where you really like let it all out, right? You empty yourself and you're not holding anything back. So when you get to the finish, you will be tired, but you're going to be great, especially if you've done 20 miles a few times in your training. So that's more than most people. I was watching the running channel. I always forget it's not the Run Experience, the British one, the running channel. And I forget her name, but she's doing the series Quarantine to Qualifier. I think she's running, what marathon is she running? I can't remember. But is she running Berlin? I think she must be running Berlin because she's doing it in all Adidas stuff. And her long run was 15 miles, I think. I watched that video last night. So, I mean, I think 15 miler might be a little bit short. I would feel a little bit concerned if 15 miles was my longest run going into a marathon. But I think the 20 miles is good because it's a nice round, big number. But I don't know that the 20 mile is necessarily either enough or sufficient, necessarily one way or the other, to run a marathon. But I think if you've done it a couple of times, I think you're going to be great. Andres Orbi says, ran with the 930s group yesterday, and running with a group versus alone made the time go by so much faster. It really does. And like, even just for me, like mentally, like not having to do with making sure I'm on the right course and making sure I'm on the right pace. Those are just two mental exercises that when I don't have that anymore, it's just a lot easier for me to just kind of like click in to the rhythm of the group and just kind of like go. It feels more like I'm floating along a river than it does feel like I'm running, and that's why I really love running in the pack. Oh, Nubetra says also 5-year-old did her first race and got a medal for youngest finisher at 12:31. Great job. Awesome. Matthew Wanamaker says, regarding your comments on the pacer over the weekend, I ran with the 4-hour pacer once that ran fast on purpose and then ran really slow last mile, yelling at people to pass her to break 4. See, I mean, I think that there are many ways to pace a marathon or any long race. But I think that I think it behooves the pacemaker to either kind of pull the group or let the group know what their pacing strategy is going to be, because for me, if someone's like, I'm running a 4-hour marathon, I would anticipate that unless you tell me different, you're going to try to even split every single mile. So that way it's just a constant effort the entire way through. Not that towards the end, you'll be trying harder to maintain pace, but so that way I don't have to either do math or worry about having to speed up or anything. Like, I just want to know, I just need a human version of the lights along the track that they have, those world record lights. Just do it that way. That's kind of the way that I would want a pacer to go. And I think that's how most pacers are supposed to go. But sometimes people have different things. They want to bank time, or they think, well, the second half's harder, so, we'll change the way we do the first half. So I think that there's lots of different ways that people approach it. A lot of times when if you're at a larger marathon and there's an expo, you can stop by the pacing area where the pacers check in and talk to the organization, the people that are organizing and in charge of the pacers as a group, and see hey, for the 4-hour group, what do you know what they're doing? And they might say, all right, well, there's going to be a really tall guy who's going to do it this way, and then there'll be a woman that's going to do it this other way, and so you can kind of pick. But I have to imagine, though, that being a 3-hour pacer, a 3.5-hour pacer, or a 4-hour pacer, being on the half hour has got to be fun, though, for that last mile when you're just go, my babies, go, you can break this barrier. I just feel like that's got to be a great feeling. And I also feel what's got to probably be real fun is the people that are really close, and you could just scream at them and be like, let's go, you could do it. I feel like that'd be fun. I feel like if I were more consistent of a runner, I would love pacing. I can certainly hold the stick and run the entire time, right? The pace flag, that would not be the problem. But I'm not that intuitive of a runner. I'm trying to learn. I spent a lot of time this summer trying to get more in tune with what my body's doing and relying a little bit less on the data and the gadgets. But I'm still really bad at it. Although some of the other parents have noticed that sometimes when I drop off the kids, I seem to be holding a stick. And then they notice that I'm going to go running after I drop off the kids. And I'm not the only one. I think a lot of parents are actually dropping off the kids and then going for a run afterwards. So the other day, a parent was like, so you're training for the Chicago Marathon? I was like, yep. And they're like, you're going to be a pacer? And I was just I knew where I was going. I also didn't want to explain that I'm a YouTuber. So I was like, nope, I'm not a pacer. I'm just running it like a regular person. And so I feel like they wanted to ask more. I didn't have the GoPro in my hand at the time. So I feel like they really wanted to ask more questions, but they were like, I don't know you well enough to really pry. So I just let them be curious about it. All right, John Sawa says, what is that last hill they talk about at the Chicago Marathon? Is it a joke? It's not a joke. I think it's anywhere between 20 to 40 feet in elevation change. It's a viaduct. Wait, what is it called? What is it? It's a bridge over. It's a bridge overpass. It's on Roosevelt Road. It's at mile 26.1. That's what makes it annoying. So you come up Michigan Avenue, you make a right up Roosevelt, or Roosevelt, depending on how you want to pronounce it, or Roosevelt. I think I say Roosevelt, even though there's 2 O's. Go right up Roosevelt. It's a hill because it's a bridge that goes over commuter rail lines that go underneath it. So you go over that, and then once you get to the top of it, then you're on Columbus, and you make a left on Columbus, and then you go slightly downhill to the finish for another 1/10 of a mile. So it's 100 meters, maybe a little bit more than that. So that's what that is. Yeah, Tracy says Mount Roosevelt. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's because you're just dying by the end. And the thing is, here's the other thing. That what makes it worse is that like so you're running at mile 26 about. I think yeah, it comes after mile 26, I think. You're right at that 26 mile mark. And coming up Michigan Avenue, there's all these tall buildings and then the park. So wind just slams against all the buildings and shoots down Michigan Avenue. So there's always a crazy headwind coming up. So you're tired, you're battling a headwind, and then you have to make a right turn and go up a hill. So there's just, it's always miserable going there. Yeah. CV76 says, how much are Pacers compensated? I don't think you are. I think it's all volunteer. Martha says, I gave my marathon pacer a big hug afterward. He was amazing. He does it many weeks every year. Yeah, see, I think that I would enjoy pacing like now I'm getting, a little bit older. I think I'll enjoy pacing marathons rather than chasing PRs more. I think that's where my mind's at. Leona says the 2019 CIM had awesome pacers, 2 for the 420 pace group, and they took turns holding the sign. That's cool. I remember, I think it was 2018 where, I don't know what was happening, but I think I was with, I think I was with the 315. Maybe I was with, I forget which pace group I was with in 2018. I might have been with a 330 group. And, one of the pacers, there were many. I think there was like 4 or 5 because that's a big group. And one of the pacers kept like dropping off and then sprinting to get back with the group, and then would run ahead real far and then like just couldn't figure out what he was doing. And then before the half marathon mark, I remember he was talking with another pacer and he's like, how bad is it if I drop out? And he was just like, oh, you're probably not going to get invited to pace again for the Chicago Marathon. So it was really weird. And then like at the mile 14 or 15 mark, I remember seeing him like sitting on the curb on the side of the street. I was like, I don't know what's happened to that guy. He was real young. So I was just like, I don't know what's happening here. So sometimes I understand that like some people, like even if you're pacing, it's supposed to be a time you should be able to comfortably hit, but it's still a marathon and things can happen, but that was a really weird one because he was just behaving so erratically beforehand too. John Zoe was saying, hoping that Mount Roosevelt was a joke. I mean, it kind of is, but it's definitely an uphill. Yeah. James Elmer said, looks like a great weather in Chicago the last few weeks. Will this year's marathon be a hot one? I'm going to guess hot. It's never great. You know what I mean? It's Chicago, so like it's either going to be hot or it's going to be really cold. I think it's going to be hot. That's my guess. It's a guess though. I think that like if I do premium weather, subscription kind of thing, you can get further than 10 days out. But I'm going to obsess over that weather for 10 days already. I don't need to obsess over it for longer than that. Thomas Villa, is it Roosevelt or Roosevelt? I say Roosevelt. And Stevie 76 says Kofuzi will also pace people's heart rate. Don't go over 160. I'm at 160. You can't go over one. Do not pass me. That'd be funny. Frank says, I don't understand why people don't train against the bong. Ideal long run should be at least as long in time as predicted finishing time. Is it just not having the conditioning that stops people? I think that's part of it, but I also think it's risky, Frank. So if my finishing time is 3:10, 3:20, 3:30, I think being out for 3 hours and 30 minutes on like a continuous effort is a long time. I think it's different if you're like, I'm going for a trail run today and we're going to do some climbing, we'll do some power hiking, stop at the top for some photos and snacks, and then run some more, jump in an alpine lake kind of thing, That's one thing to be out there for like 3, 5, 7 hours in a day. But I think that if I were to just go out and like run for 3.5 hours or even 3 hours, that's pretty taxing on the body. And they say that like the benefits over like, oh, I lost the camera here. Yeah. And they say that like the benefits of going much longer than I think like 2.5 or maybe 3 hours is outweighed by like the injury risk that it adds. So I think that's it. I think that's the main reason why. Donovan Lassard says, congratulations on the 20-mile test drive. There's nothing better than running a nice, even race than feeling like you're holding back but still hitting goal pace and then rip it at the end. Yeah, it was good. I just felt really confident. And it's exactly what I needed. Yeah. John Soa says, I remember passing a 3-hour pacer in the New York City Marathon, running back into Manhattan from the Bronx, thinking I was doing great, but nope, he was cramping. Yeah, that you know what's really confusing in the Chicago Marathon is that, you would think that all the 3-hour pacers, for example, would start at the same time. But I think with the way that some of the corrals work and the way sometimes with like the way the waves work as well. Like I was talking to Andy yesterday and he was like, this will be my first marathon. So I don't have an official marathon time, but he's trying to run like a 3:15, 3:20. But I think that's what he said he was trying to do. But he's getting seated in wave 2. And so like, he's like, I'm really worried that I'm going to be like stuck behind a lot of people in the beginning. So like, so that could be an issue too. But I think that depending on the pace group that you're looking for, there might be multiple that have started in multiple times. So like, don't just follow, like in Chicago, for example, don't just follow someone with the bib on the back that says what pace they're running. Cause they might have like started way ahead and be like what John is saying, like that person might've been cramping. And then you'd be like, oh boy, I didn't keep up properly, So yeah. He says, I have trust issues. I can't follow pacers without giving them the side eye. That's funny. All right, let's do a couple more and then I gotta get going. Oh, we're gonna run a long day. PJ says, I gotta decide if I'm gonna do CIM. 10 weeks seems like a decent amount of time to build up from half marathon shape to marathon, but it feels like a big leap to double the distance. I think 10 weeks is a really good number if you're coming off of a successful half marathon. And it sounds like you were, because you had, you did your first this weekend, right? So I think that, try not to think of it as a 10-week build up to a marathon. Think of it as kind of like add whatever time you did for a half marathon and add that onto your marathon. So envision it that way. So think of it as the time till now was your speed phase of marathon training. And now you have the next 10 weeks to do like much longer endurance training, still doing some kind of like threshold type work, but like more of your speed type work has already been done. So now you can move on to like the second phase of your marathon training. So I think I think it's plenty of time. If it's your first one, then I think it's probably going to be your first one though. It's going to be daunting no matter what. But I think probably the best time to do it is if you've finished that half marathon, feel great, and your body's responding well to it, then I think now is like a great time to go and tackle it. So, all right. I think that's where I got to leave it for today, guys. Oh, Matt's here. Good to see you, Matt. Tomorrow's video, hopefully I'll have a video. If I do, it will be comparing some daily trainers, but I won't tell you what they are in case I don't have time to get into tomorrow. Because remember, I got those other video drafts I need to submit to meet some deadlines and stuff. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but we will have another live stream tomorrow. We'll play a game. I have an idea for a game. It might be too easy, but we'll see if it works. We'll check it out. I don't want to tell you what it is because then you guys might prepare for tomorrow. So we'll play the game tomorrow. It'll be a visual game. So like, if you can, be at your computer so you can check it out and watch the images too. All right. Until then, guys, be safe out there. Thanks.